Hello and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And as draft day draws nearer, we're going to be doing some positional breakdowns. We did a mock draft, but it's time to look at the signal callers of this year's draft class, the quarterbacks. What do each of them have to offer? What do we like? What do we not like? Let's jump right into it. Tim, are you ready to go?
Let's run it.
All right. So the first quarterback that we're going to go over is Liberty's Malik Willis. Now, Malik Willis is one of the most polarizing quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. I think he has the highest ceiling out of all of these quarterbacks. The talent that Malik Willis has is absolutely undeniable. The arm talent and arm strength, he impressed in highlights. He impressed in the pro day. The ball explodes out of his hand. The release is tight and fast, which opens up RPO opportunities and quick timing passes, right? Is he as consistent a thrower as the others? In some areas, no, but he definitely gets the job done. And you don't just have to worry about Malik Willis's arm. You have to worry about his legs too, because his elite speed and dynamic running ability puts the stress on the defenses. And he's also a high character kind of guy because I don't know if you recall, but there's a video of Malik Willis. He was helping out somebody in need before the NFL draft combine on the streets of Indianapolis. That really shows what Malik Willis is all about off the field. And I feel like that's a big part of, who a quarterback is, his character as well. That's what I like about Malik Willis. Tim, what do you have on him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you talk about that video. It showed a lot of character of when you don't know that the cameras are rolling and whatnot. And the character is a big thing for Malik Willis. But in terms of like his overall talent, I think don't know about by far, but definitely one of, if not the strongest arm in the draft. And he can fire the ball quickly, as you said, with that release. I think he's a really good combination of thrower scrambler. I don't think he leans too hard on scrambling, which can really kill you at the next level in terms of injuries and or kind of being a little too predictable. I think he does have a decent amount to work on in terms of understanding like reading defenses and how to succeed in a world where everybody's top notch on defense. But I think like good coaching is what really can take him to the next level in that aspect. And you talked about his consistency. I feel like that's another big improvement that he can make. But he has made some pretty great throws time and time again. But getting consistent with those is one of the things that can make him truly great at the next level.
Mm-hmm. And like I only talked about his positives. The negatives that I see is, he's a first read only kind of guy when watching his film. If his first read isn't
kind of picks his spots and just goes to him.
Yeah, he just kind of goes. He's not fantastic at reading the coverage where, you mentioned it, and where you're going to need to do that in the NFL. Hopefully coaching can help develop that.
Yeah, I really think that is something that's very coachable and something that he can learn very quickly and just continue to adapt and grow as he gets to the next level.
More so to the first read, he doesn't check down at all. And when he does, like the read is much later than it should be. And he's not fantastic when he's forced to ad lib. He doesn't run to throw. He runs to run. And his decision making,
he runs for dear life.
when the play breaks down, his decision making is average at best. So
he's a bit more of like a reckless version of a Russell Wilson. He kind of just dances around in circles, trying to run all over the place without a real concept of trying to figure out where he wants to go with it.
With the arm talent and the arm strength that Malik Willis has, what he really reminds me of when the play breaks down is Jameis Winston or Carson Wentz. Throw it into traffic.
Well, if you want to talk about the lack of ability to check down, look no further than Carson Wentz.
Yeah. You know what? Screw it. Throw it into coverage. See what the heck happens. And Malik Willis is very.
It's just whether or not he's going to be able to learn to grow from that.
Yeah. And so like when I look at Malik Willis as a whole, like the raw talent and the upside, that means
absolutely
he has a higher ceiling than anybody else, but he is incredibly raw. He
definitely got a lot to learn.
Of developing. And you mentioned the coaching, that's going to be a huge part. And when you have a guy like this, it kind of screams boom or bust.
Yeah,
So
it is a pretty big risk because you have to bank on the fact that you can make him better, because at his
mhm.
current state, he will not succeed very much in the NFL. He's not the most NFL ready quarterback in this draft class, but he has the ability to get there with the right poking and prodding.
Yeah, that is a great segue, a fantastic
Into our
tradition
next
talking
guy,
about NFL ready quarterbacks, because the next guy we're going to break down is Kenny Pickett of Pittsburgh. And he is
Mr. Fake
arguably
Slide himself.
the most NFL ready quarterback right now. He has great accuracy and touch, his arm strength. He can hold his own there. He throws well on the run. He has solid mobility. As you mentioned, the fake slide, he can't do that, but he can run. He can take off and run, and he throws well on the run. Like I said, solid mobility, uses it to his advantage. He's a very smart kid, and he uses that to punish defenses if they make a mistake. He moves really quickly through his progressions, which I think is a big thing rather than that.
Great job at scanning the field,
Mhm.
looking at his options.
Yeah. And we have seen the development from Kenny Pickett from year to year, where like his last 3 years wasn't that great, but then he was breaking touchdown records. He broke Marino's record at Pitt, and then he broke Watson's record for the ACC, 42 touchdowns last year, 7 interceptions, and a Heisman Trophy finalist. There are a couple knocks that I have on Kenny Pickett. Age is one. He's going to be 24 by the start of training camp. Not great when your clock is starting a couple years in advance. You'd like those years back. You'd rather he be 22, but you can look at that as the glass is half empty, the glass is half full. If you want to look at it as the glass is half full, then he has that much more football experience under his belt. But the one thing that sets Kenny Pickett back for me, his pocket presence. Oh, it is so bad. It's so bad. He takes off and runs so incredibly frequently. It is so frustrating.
I would honestly more call it his panic presence, because he just sort of panics half the time.
Pretty much. And like at the college level, there'll be clips of Kenny Pickett where like a defense is only rushing 3 or rushing 4 and the pocket is barely collapsing. Yeah. Time to go.
Yeah.
He will not get away with that in the NFL.
See, I feel like some of that is almost a little bit of a disadvantage of like going through progression so fast that you almost don't even consider any of them. And then it's just like, oh, guess I got to go now, when the pressure's not even on you that much.
I mean, when it's time to go for Kenny Pickett, it's time to go.
And he makes that decision. He is gone. There's no going back.
We haven't even addressed the elephant in the room with Kenny Pickett.
That's what I was going for. It's like little baby hands.
Little baby hands. 8.5-inch hands. That would be the smallest of any quarterback that is in the NFL. Like even a 9-inch hand is considered small by NFL standards. And like I've heard / read some things about, because the college ball is bigger than the NFL ball. Kenny Pickett played with gloves and on his throwing hand. And when the elements are against him, even with a college ball, he was not able to grip it. And when he did not have control, he did not look good. So imagine how that affects him at the college level. If the NFL ball is bigger and Kenny Pickett's hands ain't getting any bigger, could be something to watch out for. I think hand size is a real thing, but is it the end all be all? No, because Kenny Pickett has played with hands like that size all of his life.
That's my big pointer when it comes to Kenny Pickett. I get the concern for his hand size, but we've seen hand size be a concern for multiple quarterbacks, including Joe Burrow, who has proven that he can throw with the best of them. Granted, he has 9-inch hands, supposed to be essentially 8.5. But the biggest thing for me is the fact that I feel like those problems that you can see are very situational, and you can try to adjust to that as much as possible. In terms of overall, as you kind of said, he's played with these same hands for his entire football career. I don't necessarily see that affecting his overall play, at least this being the core problem for him being a not stand-up quarterback at the next level. I don't see the hands being nearly as much of a problem outside of situationally, like you talked about with the weather, with the elements. It's a concern, but it's not his biggest one.
It'll
in my
affect
opinion.
his draft stock. Yeah, for Kenny Pickett, I think he is the most NFL-ready quarterback right now. And what will separate him from the rest of the pack is making those little tweaks, whether it's not leaving the pocket.
Bigger hands.
Yeah, growing bigger hands. You have that magic formula ready, but it's the pocket presence.
Stretch those bad boys out a little bit.
Yeah, stay in the pocket a little bit longer. That's the big thing, because it's absolutely
judgment. I think judgment is a big thing that he can work on and do a lot of analyzation, not only of his own play, but it's just sort of the general judgment of when to go and when to stay, and when to trust in your guys to get open in that extra half second.
Should I stay or should I go?
That would be the one. Yes.
Yeah. But let's move on to the next quarterback, Matt Corral of Ole Miss. So what really stands out with Matt Corral is his confidence and leadership. Both show up in absolute spades with this kid. The Rebels of Ole Miss were about ready to run through brick walls for Matt Corral, and it shows up in his play. Matt Corral is very decisive when he's throwing the ball. He trusts his receivers on routes that need a little bit more time to develop. And he's coachable, because we've seen the improvement from year to year without it affecting his confidence too much to where it's a detriment. His release is lightning fast. It's very quick, which, on the short plays that Ole Miss likes to run, like a lot of quick stuff.
Worked well at the time.
Yeah, it worked well. He's a little inconsistent on the more traditional plays, but of course that can be tweaked with coaching. He has,
I think, a very coachable change there. But overall, I mean, to me, he has a lot of talent and poise, which he showed, especially throughout this past season. Obviously, he ended his season on that ankle injury, thankfully sprained, not broken, but that I think affected his draft stock a little bit, just because of
not too much,
given the fact that it wasn't a real long-term injury. But to me, personally, I do think that durability could be a long-term question, just based on his overall size and build. I think he has a chance of having at least a little bit of a problem long-term in terms of injuries. Now, that is kind of an out there shot. Anybody can be injury prone that we do or don't know about. But to me, that's something I think that could be an issue. But overall, he's cut down his interceptions this season, which has been a very good improvement for him, only having 5 compared to the 14 he had last season.
There's the improvement
you see the improvement aspect of it. And I think he can continue to get better with a lot of refinement and work on a lot of those inconsistencies, especially with those more traditional throwing patterns. It just takes the right system. And I think that might be a little bit of a knock and a little bit of problem for him, as he might need the right system to succeed. And will he end up on a team that can build that correct system around him?
Yeah. We are 3 down and we have 3 to go. Tim, I'll let you intro this next one, because I know you have some opinions about this next guy. Who we got?
Yes.
Who we up to analyze?
So now we're going on to Sam Howell from North Carolina. And me being a Bears fan, I know a thing or two about North Carolina quarterbacks. And with this one, I feel more of the same animosity that I do to the one and only Mitchell Trubisky, in the fact that I don't really like Sam Howell. He does have good arm talent. I won't say that. I won't knock that from him, but I really, really dislike his inconsistency. And I think overall, especially his experience, and I will say valuable experience in terms of the amount of games played, who he's played against. To me, that's a big knock on, I will say, North Carolina quarterbacks in general, sort of that archetype that we found from the Mitchell Trubiskys, from the Sam Howells. I don't like how that translates to the next level. I see him having the ability to make good throws and have good games, but I see him being very, very inconsistent. And for me, that drops him significantly on my rankings or my prospect board for quarterbacks.
I do not nearly have Sam Howell as low as you do, although I think the inconsistency, first of all, is glaring. But the reason why I don't have him like near the bottom of the elite quarterbacks is because he does have some good traits. He has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
He has some really good arm talent when he's on, that is,
To me, he's just not he's not quite the good version of raw. He's raw, but to me in a bad way.
See, and here's the thing, right? I attended the NFL Combine. It was in Indianapolis. It was in my backyard.
You
and
have seen live action of them a lot more than
I have seen all of these quarterbacks up close and personal. And the one thing that really stood out to me was Sam Howell's inconsistency. When he made some throws, he made some big time throws where it was like, wow, like that's really impressive.
Yeah, it's like really impressive, like good throw. But especially what bothers me is the fact that the inconsistency that he's shown
it just wasn't there.
Without pads on, without defenses. Like,
yeah, he would just make some throws where it was like, where was that going? You know what the receiver is running. It's just one guy. There's
no defense to analyze. There's no pads on. There's no helmets. There's no Aaron Donalds of the world chasing you around the corner. Like, to me, there's a whole lot more factors that go into the throws that you see at the NFL Combine and or pro days and what you actually experience an everyday game to game in the NFL. And that's what really worries me, is he can make some great throws when everybody's wide open and there's no pads and no players, but come game time, I don't know.
One more thing about Sam Howell. I think the one thing that helps him is his age. He's only 21,
yes, he is,
which is definitely a plus when you compare to these other prospects that are 23, 24 years old.
You can see why he has like the lack of experience that I was talking about as well.
But then you match the age.
He hasn't had enough time really to play.
Looking at Sam Howell, the talent and the arm strength and the athleticism is absolutely undeniable. What is going to hold him back is that glaring inconsistency. And will that hold him back at the next
level? That teachable or coachable? That's the big question.
$1 million question. We'll see. But the next quarterback we're going to go over is Cincinnati's Desmond Ridder. And Desmond Ridder has shot up the draft board recently. And it's clear,
especially after his combine.
He's clear. Oh, that he put on a show at the combine. Okay. He made most, if not all, of the throws. He has incredible arm talent to hit the off-platform throws. He can be incredibly accurate on short to mid-level throws. He has a quick release. It's very quick. His footwork is incredibly clean, which is
a very smooth moving quarterback. Yeah.
He's sneaky fast. He is sneaky fast. Like
that combine sure showed it.
Yeah. Watching the combine, it was like, which quarterback? I was like, there's going to be a quarterback that breaks 4.5. And like Malik Willis didn't run. Sam Howell didn't run. I predicted there was going to be a sub 4.5 quarterback, but I didn't think it was going to be Desmond Ridder. And
who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, who would have thunk it? He's one of the more polished quarterbacks just all around in this draft class. But I watch some of the games, right? And I go, like, there are times he can be incredibly accurate on short to mid-level throws. But then it just disappears.
You talk about that on-off,
right? It's his one fatal flaw. He is described as a missed throw waiting to happen. And that is what is going to be his Achilles heel in the NFL, right? It's not a total. The difference between Sam Howell's inconsistencies and Desmond Ridder's inconsistencies. Sam Howell, it's a total thing. It is a total package thing.
It's kind of all over the field, yeah.
Desmond Ridder is a light switch. When it's on, he's really, really good. He has everything you need in a quarterback at the next level. But somebody somewhere just finds Desmond Ridder's off switch, flips it off, and then Desmond Ridder forgets how to throw a 10-yard out route. It's baffling. So I like Desmond Ridder. I have him pretty high on my draft board as QB3 above Sam Howell and Matt Corral, but just eliminate the off switch, find a way to eliminate that off switch, and he'll be fine. He'll be a sneaky pick. He'll return value.
Yeah, I've always been pretty high on Desmond Ridder. And obviously the rest of the football world has really taken notice in these past couple of months. You talked about that accuracy and specifically on more of like the downfield type plays. And I think that can definitely be a thing that NFL scouts and teams will take notice, because not many teams work solely into like that short medium game, which of course plays to his strengths there. You got to be able to take shots downfield when the opportunity is given. But that's one of the things that I think is teachable for him, especially with his mechanics, with his smooth motion, that quick release, and his accuracy throughout the rest of the field. I think that can be worked on and improved to at least translate better to the next level. Am I going to say that it's going to improve to enough to become like a superstar quarterback? That remains to be seen. I'm not so confident in that, but I think it's something that certainly can improve for him. And I have him relatively high on my boards as well. He slots in at number 4 for me.
Yeah, in terms of NFL readiness, I think he's just a tick below Kenny Pickett.
Yeah,
but
understandable
we have one more quarterback to cover, and those are like the big 5 that we just went through. Yeah. Of
pretty much everybody knows those 5 guys.
Willis, Pickett, Corral, Howell, and Ridder. Ridder has really emerged in there. But one more that I want to mention is Carson Strong. And a lot of these quarterbacks, the 5 that we mentioned, they're very trait based, where they have these traits that are good, but then they have traits that are not so good. Carson Strong checks all of the boxes.
Carson Strong has the traits that are good and the knee that is bad.
I was going to get to that, but you just stole right out of my mouth. Let's talk about what Carson Strong does well first before we get to that absolutely wrecked knee. The arm strength, the arm talent, it is awesome to watch. He can make all of the throws. He reads the defense as well. He's not nearly as mobile as like a Malik Willis, a Kenny Pickett, a Sam Howell, but he can still get the job done. So I was going to ask, what's the issue? It's the darn knee. And when it's just a little bit tweaked, Carson Strong is not the same quarterback.
Different guy, yeah.
When he's 100% healthy, the ball looks clean. It's zipping around the field. He's putting it exactly where he wants it. He's shifting, he's moving around, he's reading the defense. But even when there's like a little tweak, the velocity on the ball is off. It's just the accuracy starts to get affected. Yeah. And especially since he's having a surgery where a cadaver is being shoved in that knee, and it may or may not work depending on whether the cartilage in Carson Strong's knee reacts well or not. I mean, that is a ginormous red flag.
Yes. To me, though, in terms of like drafting, though, he could be a massive boomer bust in terms of a late round pick, because you can take a risk on him on a mid to late round pick. If he pays off and that knee does a pretty good job of healing and he's able to learn underneath a good starting quarterback on whatever team he ends up with, he could potentially be a franchise quarterback for somebody if he manages to stay healthy. But the problem is, with that knee, you're one bad twist, one bad hit away from a career-ending injury. And at the NFL, that happens all the time. I mean, you see the ACL
knee injury is no joke.
You see the ACL with Joe Burrow, and then he comes back the next season, and in the playoffs this year, he has another awkward knee twist that looked like it could have been terrible, but he managed to shake it off and be okay. With Carson Strong,
if you held their collective breaths.
If you even twist it the wrong way, like an inch, it just seems like his leg's going to fall off. So that's the one thing I think that's the really big question mark, is how is that knee going to respond not only to the surgery, but the everyday physicality of an NFL.
That is the one question mark. That is quite literally the one thing holding Carson Strong back. If Carson Strong was completely 100% healthy, he would be the QB1 in this draft. I am not joking at all. But because of that knee,
he definitely would be battling for it.
You can't. He's got all the tools, but the knee just.
It's really tough. It's really tough when a physical ailment is what gives out on you for some of these players, because when they got so much of the talent, so much of the ability, the mindset, the experience.
Can and will the knee hold up?
That's the question.
But we just went over the quarterbacks in this year's draft class, the notable ones, the big 5 plus Carson Strong, to get you ready for draft day, which is rapidly approaching. and we'll have tons of stuff coming up. We'll have other positional breakdowns. We'll be sure to go through running backs, wide receivers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pretty much any position group you want us to go for, leave it in the comments and we'll break it down.
Let us know.
So if you want to watch our mock draft, that is out now on Running the Table. And if you want to watch our other stuff, go do that. We appreciate the support. But until next time, like and subscribe for more Running the Table content, and we out.